Hello, everyone. We want to thank the Energy Chamber, DAPS, for giving us this time this morning to do this. My name is Shelly. I worked in television for a number of years and internationally, and I told the stories of a lot of people, from the very powerful to the very powerless. And this morning, I want to tell you the story of two women sitting on either side of me that I've known for a very long time. They are Celeste Mohammed and Deborah Benjamin. They wrote a story that's very dear to me in my heart. Like Penny, as she is fondly called, Penelope Beckles, the minister, I too am a child of the energy sector. I grew up with my dad working through Texaco, Trinidad, and Petrotrin. And like the dozens of people in the energy sector, I can build a cat cracker with Bristol board. Trust me, all of us know how to do it. Celeste Mohammed is a mom. She's an author, but she's also a lawyer who's written legislation that's still used in countries around the region. Deborah Benjamin, she's internationally known. I'll let her tell you why, if she's brave enough, and for what reason. She's one of the hardest working women I've ever met. She blows me away with her work ethic and her skills. She commissioned this project. Celeste wrote the book. And I'm going to start this morning by letting them tell their stories. Celeste, first of all, tell us what this book is about and why we should read it.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to the Chamber for having us. Shelly, I am going to take up your challenge and jump right in. I'm going to address the elephant in the room. No, this is not a male-bashing encyclopedia. Sorry to disappoint anyone. That's not what this book is about. It's not really even about men. This book attempts to use our natural love for storytelling, memoir, literature, to humanize what is a systemic problem that goes beyond men. So I would say that the book is about trying to address what I would call the perception gap that still exists between how women actually experience the industry and how they are presumed to experience it by persons both in and outside of the industry.
Deborah, tell me why you commissioned this book. You work in the industry. You worked around the industry. It's over 20 years. I won't give away how old she is. But tell me why you commissioned this project.
Shelly, this would be my 25th year since I entered the oil and gas industry. And having been in the industry and recognizing that, there are still challenges facing us women in the industry, that we experience the challenges in a different way in this industry. And I wanted to lend my voice to it, and recognizing that it is one of the Sustainable Development Goals in terms of gender equality, the advancement of women and young girls. The project was something that was a passion project for me. And I was very happy when Celeste came on board and agreed to put it together for us. And we brought her into the industry to meet, all the prolific women that are featured in this book. And according to Minister Beckles, this is what is going to push us forward faster on the agenda. So I'm happy to have our contributions here, and we hope you enjoy reading the book.
Now, these ladies, they met with and they spoke to people here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have two of them in the room. We have Arlene Chow and I think we have Giselle Thompson as well here. And their stories are told. But they also interviewed women from around the region, from Suriname and Guyana. Celeste, I'm just going to go a little bit off script and ask you to tell me what are some of the common threads that you found, and what were some of the differences in talking to the women in Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, and Guyana, seeing that these countries have the opportunity to work together in a real meaningful way in the next decade?
Well, Shelly, I can't go too deep with my answer because then, that's a whole section of the book that I would be giving away. But certainly, what jumped out at me, a couple of things, which I tried to collate in the last two chapters. All of these women, every single one, loved learning, continuous learning, not because your company sends you to do a course or whatever. They loved learning. They all said the same thing without knowing that the others were saying it. I like to work. So these are women who don't back down from a challenge. They have what Angela Duckworth calls grit. And surprisingly, this is a surprising thing, every single one of them talked about the value of forgiveness.
So forgiveness is very interesting because we know that there are a lot of things that happen in all industries, not just the energy sector, Deborah, working in the energy sector, what are some of the things that have been the greatest challenges and how have you seen change over the last few decades?
So challenges for us, I think that spans across every industry, in terms of as women, especially in the C-suite sector, we are expected to achieve the work-life balance. But as with all the men in the room, in the boardroom, you'll have one or two women and the men have their wives taking care of their kids at home. Whereas for us, we're still expected to balance, go back home, you know, deal with all the household duties as well as the homework and so on. So it becomes even harder for us. We have other simple challenges, such as in 2024, we still have to struggle to get PPE that fit us as women, you know, appropriately. I don't think there's any day I can do a pedicure and go into a pair of safety shoes the next day and, you know, have it still remain as it was. And I know it sounds a little vain, but those are the challenges that we experience, simple challenges as women. You go out on a platform and there definitely is a different experience out there for women and for men. So from the ladies that are, you know, in the field every day to the ladies that are in the boardroom, the challenges span across the industry, and it's something that we've been very proud to bring forward. As a gentleman said to me yesterday, I didn't think of it that way. So it's not a deliberate attempt for men to exclude us or not, you know, deal with some of these problems. It's just that sometimes it just doesn't occur. And I think what this does is bring out some of those issues so that, you know, it will start a conversation around, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem. Let me do something about it. And that's how we move the agenda forward faster to promote, you know, gender equality and the advancement of women in this energy industry.
Now, I know that every single woman in this room can tell a story of their own about sometimes being the only one in the room or at the table. I want Celeste to go into a little bit here. What makes women in energy different, the challenges that they face as opposed to women in finance, law, the other sectors as well, business?
I asked myself that question while I was listening to these women because, you know, being a lawyer, especially working where I had worked in various countries in offshore finance and stuff, I was accustomed to being the only woman in the room sometimes, you know, and I listened to these women and what I experienced, whatever chauvinism or whatever you want to call it, I might have experienced, what these women were disclosing was something seriously more prevalent and not, if not prevalent, but certainly intense, more intense. And so I listened to them asking myself over and over again, and again, a whole chapter of the book is dedicated to that, me asking myself, what do they have that I didn't have? Because I got fed up of a lot of things and I'm no longer practicing law, you know, but these women have something, some secret source that I felt these women in oil and gas that makes them able to go out on the platform, despite, to show up in the boardroom, to have those one-on-one clashes. They all talk about clashes. Some enjoy it, some less so, but they have something that I felt I did not have.
I know later on during the live stream, you'll be speaking, checking in with some of the subjects of the book. Hopefully we could have both of them who are here telling their stories as well. But Celeste, tell me a little bit about Arlene and her inspiring story. You started and you chose to start the book with her.
Yes. Many reasons. Ms. Chow having only just recently, actually, when I spoke to her, she was still on board at Heritage and was about to transition out. I felt that she would have a perspective and a platform. Her career spans, I mean, the gamut, both here and abroad. And she, being someone who is now leaving the industry, would be able to say and speak candidly in ways that perhaps persons still in the industry might not. I also felt like, you know, you come to a point sometimes in life where what is anybody going to do? Beat me? You know what I mean? Like, what you're going to do? Fire me? So I enjoyed talking to Arlene. Arlene was honest. She was candid. At times, she brought me to tears, you know, but always she was very encouraging. And her takeaway is to recommend the industry, you know, so thank you, Arlene.
And again, we'll be hearing from Arlene and Giselle, hopefully, in our live stream. To both of you, and these are getting into some of the issues that are in the book, but just one quick question. that I know everybody has been asking about. You interviewed several people for the book. Why did you choose this particular cross-section of women? You have people like Arlene who've been in the industry for decades, people who have been in the industry just for a few years. You have young, you have older, you have seasoned, I would call them. You would have different perspectives, people who are engineers on the rigs, on the platforms, and then people in C-suites. Tell us the criteria for determining the cross-section.
Well, I mean, the research shows that, yes, we need to get women into the industry, entry level, and we need to keep them, recruitment, retention. I wanted the book to speak to women at any level, really. Also, I wanted to show a sort of continuum. So like what Arlene talks about, we have a very young engineer coming 20, 30 years later, saying the same things, not knowing what Arlene said. So that tells you something, you know.
Were you surprised by any of the content?
Yes, I was surprised by many things, but
I will let you all, you have to pick up a copy of this book. This book is truly, it's not what you think it's going to be. It's not what you expect it to be. And it shows a role for everyone. So just finally, before we go, why should some people buy and read this book from your point of view as a publisher, but also as an industry stakeholder?
So as Celeste said, I think it's a celebration of the secret sauce. And we as Caribbean women, because it is very specifically focused on Caribbean women, we have a different experience to women globally. I think we are strong. Our experience as Caribbean women, our heritage in these islands gives us that grit, gives us that secret sauce to be resilient and do what we need to do to be successful. So this is the voices that you will read about and hear them speaking, because you know most of them in person. And I just ask that everybody look at it with an open mind and do what you can in your own way to move forward this agenda in any way you can.
Well, I'm getting a red block saying time's up, but the author will have the final word really quickly.
Why should anybody read this book? I think everybody should read this book. But, you know, from a corporate and industry perspective, I feel this book does two things really well, if I do say so myself. One, it packages an important but the thorny issue in a very convenient and readable way. And also by centering the lived experience of 8 women across 3 countries, you know, it really does give women's voices in the industry a pride of place. So I feel like every coffee table and shelf and whatever in waiting rooms and offices throughout the industry, this book will send a message by its mere presence, you know, that it will send a resounding message.
I want to thank you ladies both very much. I'm very proud of these ladies for what they have achieved. I understand this is just volume 1. Don't worry, your stories out there will also be told, I'm sure. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Driver, and thank you for your attention.